This week on the Trucking Risk and Insurance podcast, we have Mr. Dirk Kupar from TruckRight joining us. Unfortunately, Johnny was not able to make it this week. We had a scheduling conflict. And to boot, we had some technical software difficulties. So this particular recording was done in Zoom, and that makes it a little different and interesting. So Dirk Kupar, TruckRight, and Dirk's info is in the show notes down below. Join us this week. Dirk Kupar from TruckRight spends his time with the Safety Dawg.
Welcome to the Trucking Risk and Insurance Podcast.
Dirk, welcome to the Trucking Risk and Insurance Podcast. I'm excited to have you on. This is as a result of the Quebec truck show, or the truck show that happens just outside of Montreal every year. That was the last time I actually saw you, and we had a brief conversation. So good of you to join me today on the Trucking Risk and Insurance Podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, Chris, first of all, thank you for inviting me to be on here today. A little bit about Dirk. Been in the transportation industry since the early 80s. Was originally an owner-operator with moving company Atlas Van Lines. And from there, the journey took us into a driver service. Lisa and I, my wife Lisa and I had Kupar Enterprises that we founded in 1993. It started off with our own trucks. We had about 12 trucks of our own back then. And then we turned it into a driver service and eventually got out of having our own trucks. And the driver service grew quite significantly over the years. And then in 2022, so last December, we transferred any of the remaining drivers that worked for us to the fleets that they were leased onto. So getting out of the driver space. And then TruckRight, which we'll talk a little bit about more a little bit later. TruckRight was a platform that originally was designed to manage our drivers.
And TruckRight has grown immensely, and obviously it's where you spend all your energy now. Tell us a bit about TruckRight. What is it?
Well, TruckRight, initially when we were building it, was for us to manage our drivers across Canada because we had locations all over the place. And we basically wanted a way to interact with people remotely. Drivers live everywhere. Rarely do they live close to your terminal. So us being an agency was no different than a trucking company. We had drivers, we had compliancy things that we needed to keep up to date. So we created a portal that kind of interacted between us and the drivers. They could apply online, fill out an application. They could do their orientation in our software. We manage their driver qualification files in our platform, and the drivers can frankly log in whenever they want, get their pay stubs, get whatever they need out of their portal.
And then how did it grow into the platform that it is now? Because if I was a trucking company, I believe that I can subscribe to TruckRight. Is that correct?
It is. So we originally were building it for us, and then we turned it into a platform that can be used by fleets. And that was because, frankly, we told fleets what we were doing and how we had an online application and the whole process. And they said, well, Dirk, we think we might like that. So we went ahead and changed the program a little bit to make unique databases. And I don't want to get technical, but being able to silo each trucking company into their own secure encrypted database was the next bit of the task. But frankly, they thought we were on to something, and 10 years later we are, I guess.
Well, since it's providing you with a living, I would have to say, yes, it is.
And I would like to add to that, and 60 full-time Canadian here in the city of Belleville, some remote, but everybody working for us, 60 families are being supported by this as well.
Yeah, which is awesome. And I know you do a lot of work with truckload carriers as well. You're a huge supporter there. One of the things that you had mentioned just briefly earlier, when you said you silo each trucking company into their own thing, you mentioned the word encryption.
Yep.
I just want let you expand on that. How important is encryption today in this world of privacy and computers getting hacked?
I think there isn't anybody going to be listening to this that has not heard of some sort of data breach or cybersecurity word. Or so we it is paramount. We are very cognizant of all of the regulations across North America. We recently completed getting ourselves into place for Quebec with the new Law 25 for privacy, which is similar to the European Union. California would already done. So just making sure that, because we handle basically HR records for, there's over 1 million driver profiles in our platform. And it's important that there's drug test results, there's workman's comp information, there's people's personal information. So keeping it secure is number one.
And one, if I was in your database, I would thank you for that, because, with my home address and my driver's license, a hacker can do a lot of damage to me. So
Yep.
For the encryption part of it, I thank you. And just to highlight, you said you are compliant in all of Canada, including Quebec, and the
Yep.
United States, including California. Is that right?
I did, yes.
Okay. Well, just
And
in case people are listening, they go, did he say that?
it is a mouthful to say, but it is, in our space, we just have to stay on top of this.
Well, and you've got to make sure that, as you say, you're on top of it, that you're compliant in all the different jurisdictions that you are operating in. I mean, that's hugely important. Trucking companies are trusting you with their private and confidential information, and they expect you to be compliant.
Yep. And one step further on that, Chris, some of the bigger fleets that we do business with, and very, very large Fortune 100 companies, not only do they expect it, but they actually pre-audit before they give us the data to begin. So we've been audited by some very high profile name companies that your audience would be familiar with.
Well, and that's them doing their due diligence, because they owe it to their employees and drivers to protect their information.
Yes, I totally agree.
How does TruckRight make it easier for truck drivers?
I think the number one thing is, and what's in it for me is like how I always think of it from my trucking days, is there's times where your driver's license come and due, your pay stubs, whatever you want to interact with the office, but you're not in the office.
Right.
With our platform, the drivers can log into the portal anytime they want. They want to see an old pay stub. They want to see it if they're an owner operator, if they want to see their old monthly maintenance reports. All of it's visible to them inside the portal. So that's the biggest thing for the drivers, is being able to access their information that's on file, and even update. Maybe all of a sudden they want to bring a pet in the truck, and they need their company has a pet policy. They can just go in and self-assign a pet policy document, fill it out, and it automatically goes to the right person in the company.
All right. So you have policy and procedure manuals as well online for each individual company?
We do. They can create, and vast majority of them have, their health and safety manuals are right inside our platform. And that way the driver can see it, read it from anywhere.
And this is something I've been really trying to get my clients on board with, because having the old binder with all the papers printed out does not make searching it very easy. Where I imagine digitally, I can type in a word or two and quickly find the policy that I'm trying to reference.
Not only that, you can change a policy in the system and update it, and it goes out to everybody evenly, equally. And you can have a separate policy for owner operators, separate policy for company drivers. Maybe you have a union division and a non-union division. The system is intuitive enough and intelligent enough to make sure that when a new policy is being created, it goes to the appropriate people.
That's cool. I just want to go back a little bit to the owner operator. You mentioned them, and they are keeping at least some of the records on the TruckRight platform. how does that benefit the owner operator exactly?
Well, because the owner, there's two or three major things that are in there. So if let's say an owner operator is leased onto a trucking company, and let's say they're a small fleet owner and they have multiple trucks and multiple drivers, they actually have a compliance dashboard where they can monitor the compliance of their own drivers that are leased onto that company as well. Monthly maintenance reports, they can do it off a smartphone or a tablet. And their monthly maintenance reports there, they can put their receipts into their file and have access to it going forward. Again, same as the employee driver. Anything that's in their file, they can get back at and take a look. And just some people will say, "Well, Dirk, I don't want drivers looking at stuff in their files or changing things." Once something in TruckRight's reviewed by the fleet, it kind of locks it so that the driver can't change it. So the driver can go back in and look at it, but they can't go, "Oh, I want to take this out of my file because I don't want them to have it anymore." It doesn't work that way.
You mean I can't get rid of that warning letter that I received? Jeez, come on, Dirk.
You can see it, but you can't get rid of it.
Well, that's what I mean. I just see it when you're talking about the owner operator. I see it as a huge bonus for the owner operator at tax time, for example, to have all my receipts in one place. I had to give them to my company that I'm signed on with, anyways, and now everything's in one place. So it should make it easier for tax time, I would think.
There's that. The safeties they're stored in there. Anything to do with their equipment is stored in there. And just a little nibble of something that's coming to TruckRight, but it's between you and I. Please don't share this information. is is we are actually working on a project that should be out early next summer, where licensing and virtual permit books will be a part of TruckRight.
Ah, that's exciting.
Yes.
Yeah. Going
But don't
back
tell
to,
anybody. That's between you and I.
yeah, okay. We won't let the hundreds of millions of people that listen to this. So I don't have quite that large of an audience, but they will be interested. Now, how difficult is the whole TruckRight system to install?
So there's nothing to install. It's really it lives in our servers. Our Canadian clients, their data is stored here in Canada. Our American clients, their data is stored in the United States. So we run in a very large data center called Azure, which is part of the Microsoft ecosystem. We're managed by TELUS, manages the security of our platform. And I guess I can say they're also a client. So their line drivers are all in our platform. But it's just really I'm gonna have to pause my thought and let you go because I've lost my train of thought. Sorry. I
Well,
apologize.
no, it's just we were talking about how easy it is to install. So there really isn't
Yep.
any installation.
Correct.
It's in the cloud, it's online.
Correct. So, and then we configure it for each new client so the client would have their logos in it. We can actually do the coloring in the platform so that the colors match their corporate colors. So when the driver's interacting with the platform, they're interacting with the client's branding, not TruckRight's branding.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember, but several years ago, it was probably near the launch of TruckRight. I was in Belleville, and you were good enough to host me, and you were showing me one of your customers, because I don't want to drop the name, but I remember a Canadian company. Red was the predominant color, and it wasn't too far from your offices, and it looked like it was their website.
Yeah, our design is to make the driver, that continuity of relationship between the driver and their carrier. There's really no value between TruckRight branding and the driver. It's important to have, and we designed that right from the very beginning so that the client branding was, we weren't as concerned with our branding as we were with the client to the driver.
Yeah, and so you're kind of like a white label product, and I
Exactly.
put my brand on it.
Exactly.
Yeah, because and people may not know who TruckRight is, but they sure as heck know who their employer is,
Exactly.
or we would hope they would.
Yeah.
What other integration, or how does TruckRight integrate with other systems?
So we have roughly 260 integration partners today. We integrate with telematics. We integrate with driver camera systems. The biggest two though would be dispatch software and job boards. So drivers may see a job on Indeed, for example. Well, they can click a button in Indeed, and their profile that's Indeed automatically fills out the entire application of TruckRight. So it's not like, oh, take me a link over here. Now we got to type all this information that they already put in Indeed. They just click a button. It fills out the DOT app if it's a DOT driver. And the only thing the driver has to do then is fill out the little pieces that may be missing for a DOT app. And the workflow makes that quite simple for them.
I would think
Go ahead.
that would be a huge bonus for your client when they're trying to recruit over somebody else who every applicant starting from scratch.
Yes. No, it is. And we have a feature that allows the driver to kind of have a follow me app. We call it the True app. And the True app is basically once the driver's created a profile in TruckRight, if they go to another client, when they start applying at that new client, because their data is not shared between clients, but the driver's unique identified information sits in the True app, the driver would then be proposed, oh, we see this as you, and we would send them a two-factor authentication. They put in that code, and it would automatically fill out their application from the database. So they wouldn't have to type it all in again.
The integrations, that works. To me, that's a huge bonus. Again, if I was a driver applying, or if I'm trying to recruit, to have it done quicker and easier for the driver, it's got to help me recruit.
Yep. A lot of our newer clients, you go to their website and you see ABC Trucking and you click for an apply now, and you get this download PDF, or you get a web form that you fill out, which is really just an email. With us, when we bring on a client, we actually give the client links that attach to their website. So when the driver clicks apply now, they're redirected to a branded page of that same company, right, saying, fill out the online app. And here's a whole listing of all we have. We're looking for city drivers. We're looking for flatbed drivers. We're looking for mechanics. We're looking, it's not just for drivers, it's for all your staff, but predominantly drivers, obviously. So the driver clicks on which one they're interested in, and they fill out the application, and then that application actually starts building their DQ file, saving the. Go ahead.
If I'm an applicant that's already in the TruckRight file, does that pop up and say, "Hey, we can fill this in for you"?
Yes. Yep.
See, to me, that's awesome. Hey, let's look 3 or 4 or 5 years in the future. What do you think is going to be happening, or what's the future for TruckRight?
I think the future for TruckRight, as much as I'd like to say that I have the vision, we have an advisory board of fleet members. I think we have 12 or 14 different fleets that are on our advisory board, and they are our steering committee. They come to us with the ideas. What do they think TruckRight should be? So as much as I would like to say this is how it's going to be, we determined a couple of years ago that Dirk and his team, our team here, is just one idea. With the advisory board, we're having fleets interact with each other. Come, hey, what about this? What about this? What about this? And that the virtual permit book, it came from the fleets. They wanted it.
Well, and nowadays, why we can't have ownerships and safeties and CVR licenses and the DOT numbers, why we can't have all that virtually available to show the necessary people, I don't quite understand yet, but governments. What else is coming down the pipe 3 or 5 years away?
I think what we're doing is we're getting into a lot of managed professional services where maybe especially private fleets, where they want help on the maintenance of what's going on. An example of that is we have about 10 customers today, and 3 of them are the largest companies. Again, I don't want to share names, but they're looking for us to ensure the carriers that are hauling their freight, because these are shippers, they're making sure that the carrier is meeting compliance. So
Right.
it used to be put in a bid, lowest bid wins, you haul our freight. Well, the fleets are saying, now here's a set of standards, or the shippers, sorry, here's some standards, and TruckRight is going to be helping us with those standards. And part of that is ensuring the drivers are kept in compliance, because again, smaller fleets, they may not have the technical resources in place to do it, but these fantastic mom and pop companies across Canada are doing work for some of these shippers, and we're just ensuring that all their I's are dotted, T's are crossed. So that's a new thing for us, and we're going to be expanding that side of the business.
Well, I gotta believe well, we all know what litigation is like here in North America, especially in the States.
Yep.
And more shippers are being sued or certainly being involved in lawsuits. And if they can show their due diligence that, hey, we had TruckRight make sure that the driver files and this company was compliant to these standards, that's got to say a lot.
We're actually, and I don't know, we've thought about developing some sort of a national certification, for lack of a better word, that with TruckRight being able to say, this truck driver is everything that you want from a safety standard, and being able to put a stamp of approval on it, versus mom and pop trucking company says, yeah, he's a good guy. Well, we would be able to back that up with data and facts.
It's data and facts that stand up in court. And it's also data and facts that help reduce every company's insurance rates.
Oh, yes.
So, and
So,
go ahead.
You said insurance. One of the things that insurance companies like about TruckRight is they can log into TruckRight with the fleet's approval and look at driver files with the fleet's approval, and look at documents in the driver file with the fleet's approval. So they can say, okay, we want to take a look at Chris, and in Chris's file, we want to see his application, we want to see his driver's abstract, we want to see his driver's license, we want to see those things, and the fleet can set some settings in the platform and give that insurance person, okay, you got 2 weeks to look at those driver files. Those are the 8 drivers you're going to look at. Here's the 7 documents you're allowed to see. The insurance guys log in. They don't even have to come into your office to look at the paperwork.
And that would be awesome. And plus, the insurer now has some faith that these are accurate records. When I used to work for an insurance company, I could see files that I honestly believed were manufactured and not true and accurate.
Our platform has a compliance dashboard that can't be manipulated. I guess they would be blatantly in the litigation, it would come out that they were lying and fraud, but the vast majority of our clients, the expirations, everything that needs to be done, one dashboard, what's in compliance. Right now, most trucking companies, if they get into an accident, the first thing they go, oh my God, I hope this guy's file is going to look all right. With our system, they don't have to do that. They have a dashboard that tells them that the file's right.
Right, and which is perfect. So now we've got your contact info in the show notes down below, or how to reach out to TruckRight. Last word, what would you like to leave the audience with?
Safety first. It really, as much as I'd like to give you a sales shtick, I really enjoy how much the Canadian companies, American companies are focusing on safety. But the more you can focus on safety, the better it is for all of our children, our grandchildren, our neighbors. So I'm not going to give a sales stick. I'm going to go with safety first.
Safety first. And if you want more information, you can contact TruckRight. Their information is in the show notes down below. What a great interview with Dirk Kupar from TruckRight. And as you can see on the screen here, we have a QR code. You can scan that with your phone and be taken right to get all the information from TruckRight. All right. Thanks so much, Dirk. Appreciate your time, and I appreciate all of your time, the viewers and the listeners. That's it for this week. Johnny should be back next week on the Trucking Risk and Insurance Podcast. See you soon.